Did they just see this?
Yeah, these are all from the webinar.
Actually. Hi, Ryan.
Oh, okay. Why do calculus teachers never party?
It's probably the best. Yeah.
Are you started?
I already started.
Because
Okay.
they know that they shouldn't drink and
Just leave it there.
drive.
Okay.
Drive.
Yeah.
No, can you start now?
We're good. We're live. We're live. So
Oh, that's us.
yeah, that's us.
Oh,
Sit down. Wait, I don't want this chair here. Sorry, everyone. No, stand. Wait, Manuel, can you change the slides for us? Oh my gosh.
Here, I'll change them. This should, yeah.
Never mind, we're good.
Nina, you do it. No, I can do it. You go up there.
Go have fun.
So for those of you who also don't know, Manuel is actually the Circle K district governor, so that's cool.
Wow.
Tell me when to go.
Oh wait.
Yeah. So basically, we've divided this workshop into different sections and basically just kind of talking about our experiences in our positions. And then we'll be talking a little bit about international board at the end. So if there's anyone who's interested in international board, we'll have specific slides for it because obviously we've never like been in that position, but we can give you like what we've heard and like all of our advice for that.
Hi, so I'm District Governor Nina Nguyen. Yeah. So basically some responsibilities. So as District Governor, you are the CNHQN's representative for Key Club International. So you go around meeting people from all over the world. So I've met the Key Clubbers from Taiwan, I've met Key Clubbers from Canada, from other states throughout the United States. So basically there are 3 levels you serve: internationally, districts, and clubs. Yeah. Okay. So basically on international, as an international representative, you hold an international council position. So international council is all the district governors and international boards. So that's around like 50 people. So yeah. So it's also international board consists of international president, international vice president, international trustee. International council is different from international board. So international board is like the international people who are elected at international convention, and then international council is composed of international board plus district governors. So as a member of international council, you also attend GATSI, which stands for Governor and Administrator Training Conference. It's usually held at the Future International Convention location. So during my term, at the beginning, I got to go to Baltimore and I learned more about what you do as a governor. I got to meet the other governors, and I also got to talk to the past international president and vice president. You also get to attend LeadCon, which stands for Leadership Convention. It's basically just a chance for you to meet your other governors and meet the trustee who's assigned to your district. Next, you also have to, you usually communicate bi-weekly with an international trustee. So this year, our international trustee is Cindy Show, and I talk to her basically every other 2 weeks. We have a call on Tuesday at 4, and she just calls me and we just talk about what's going on, what she expects from our district, and how everything is going. And then you also fill out monthly governor report forms sent out by the international president every month. So on the district level, you basically are the representative at Kiwanis family events throughout California, Nevada, and Hawaii. So you go to Kiwanis Midyear North and Kiwanis Midyear South. You also go to CNH Key Club, CNH Circle K District Convention, and CNH Kiwanis District Convention. So you go to all of them basically. So this past year, I got to go to Hawaii for the CNH Kiwanis District Convention. And then for the CNH Circle K District Convention, it's in Riverside. And then the CNH Key Club Convention will be in Ontario. And then you also have to attend one CNH Circle K District Board meeting. And then this is new. I don't know if they're going to continue this, but I also was invited to attend the CNH Circle K Fall Training Conference. You also attend one CNH Kiwanis District Board meeting, and then you are also invited to sit on the Rose Float. And then you, as district governor in the district, you also preside over district meeting weekends. So you create board training materials. So all the presentations usually most of the presentations that cover training supplies and etc. are made by the district governor. You also create meeting agendas. You create packing lists. You also assign other people to these presentations so that not too much is on your load. You also preside over the official board meetings. So like when everything comes to place, you're not the one voting, but you're making sure other people vote and you're taking down what happens. Yeah. And then oh, I'm so sorry. I was updating this on my plane ride, but I forgot I didn't have Wi-Fi, so I'll just go off. Can I use my phone? Well,
Yeah.
actually, it's on my iPad, but it's okay. So I'll just talk about things you also do on the club level. So on the club, you basically have you communicate with the club president. Usually there's a
Go ahead.
sorry. Usually there's a president report form sent out every few months, or it's up to the district governor to see what she feels, to see what he or she fits the presidents for the term. It's also important that they send out newsletters to their district board to keep everyone updated on what's going on. You also release updates, and you basically keep everyone in the loop.
Okay, hi everyone. So welcome to the secretary's presentation. I actually know some of you are my secretaries, so that's really fun. You can go ahead to the next slide. So obviously I'm a member of executive board, and so I take meeting minutes at every single district board meeting. It is a very taxing process, and I'll talk more about that in detail on the next couple of slides. I also chair the district elections process. I'm in charge of every year, so the district secretary is in charge of updating the policies, the bylaws, and other things relating to kind of the legal stuff within CNH Kewins. So I've been working a lot on that these past couple of weeks. Also, I'm in charge of submitting our district monthly report form, and that's super, super important because that goes to Key Club International. And again, that's something I'll be talking about in more depth in this presentation. I also planned this event in CTC, so thank you all for coming. And then also, as a member of the district board, I also have other committee responsibilities. So for example, I chaired a special projects committee this year. And also, if you have any other personal goals in this role of secretary, like I added secretary calls this year, then you can add that as part of the responsibility of secretary. So monthly report forms, obviously, I have to make sure that the clubs are turning in their monthly report forms every first of the month. And also, LTG is turning a report form that's due every 8th of the month. And from that LTG report form is where I compile my district MRF. So my district MRF looks like lots of numbers with lots of columns. So every division, I have reports of their fundraising for each specific emphases, as well as their hours for each specific emphases as well. So it is a long process. I have stayed up many nights, like on the 14th, trying to get it in, just so I don't have to do it the next day. But that's essentially what monthly report forms are. And also, so taking meeting minutes, this is honestly one of the biggest parts of my job because it's important that I'm keeping record of everything that we approve officially so that it's legally binding, you know? Also, it's definitely a little bit stressful at first. I would say your first board meeting, all my secretary babies, you're not gonna get it. It's gonna take you a while, but as you go throughout the term, you'll definitely learn some tips and tricks to kind of structure your meeting minutes. Also, another thing, helpful tip is don't take down everything. Like if Mr. Bashir goes to hug Nina, don't be like, Mr. Bashir hug Nina in the meeting minutes. So that's something else. Also, these meeting minutes are distributed to the district board, the adult advisors, as well as the Key Club International trustee, because International uses our minutes to verify everything. And you do this within 15 days of a district board meeting. So some of the skills that I would say are important for this position is probably one of my biggest ones that's on here. I think the second one is organization, because if for example, I have all my club MRFs organized by division and all the schools. So if that was disorganized, it'd be really hard for me to check up on everything because I verify that the LTG MRFs are matching the club MRFs, so there's no discrepancies. So that's going to be a really hard thing to do if you aren't super organized. Also, focus and persistence. So things like bylaws, they can get really boring. Nina knows. Nina and I spent 5 hours? 5 hours just talking on the phone over bylaws and changing them to fit what we do in Kewins. And also deadlines are really fast approaching. I definitely know there'll be sometimes where I get a notification on my phone for a reminder or something. I'm like, oh, that's due tonight. I need to take care of that. Also event planning, so you do have to have some kind of skill with event planning because obviously you plan CPC. And then also public speaking like I'm doing right now. It's really important because not only are you going to be standing up and giving presentations to everyone, you're also going to be just talking to members. It's really important to have people skills because it's nice to just talk to everyone, make them feel included. So yeah.
Oh, so before we move on to treasurer's presentation, I also wanted to add some things to my governance presentation. So realized I forgot to touch over committees. So as district governor, you're also a member of all the committees in our district. So it's important that you try to attend meetings every once in a while and that you take part in what they're doing. You also release a committee report form, and they're supposed to turn it out whenever they have a call. It's honestly up to the governor. It's your district. It's up to you, whatever they want to see from the committees. And then it's also important that you so something new we're implementing is a strategic plan for 2020 to 2023. The next district governor will also be in charge of making sure that strategic plan follows through. A district governor is also assigned to appointed board officers every year. So she's also district governor is also expected to release the appointed board applications and hold interviews and discuss with the executive board what who she wants and why, etc. And then you're also in charge of communicating with the adults. So sometimes a lot of students are intimidated to talk to like the regional advisors or district administrator, Mr. Bashir. Just make sure as district governor you're comfortable approaching them and having conversation with them.
And also to go off of that, what Ina was saying, if any of you guys don't know what a strategic plan is, it basically is designed to address like specific areas of like lack in the district.
Yeah.
So this will be something we need to go over at
Yeah.
DCON, but things like
We're focusing on
membership development and
Yeah,
education specifically, and then we have like listed goals on how we want to accomplish those. So
Okay. Hi guys. I'm Tina. I am the district treasurer, and I'm gonna show you what I do. So, some of the experience that you're gonna need to be district treasurer. You're gonna need to know all the senior students documents, such as the MRFs and the TIRA-Fs, as well as the membership update center. All these resources, they're really important to your role as treasurer because you're gonna be helping out like club officers and helping them out, and it just gives you a lot like information on the district and the things that you need to know. And so you're gonna need to know how to use Google Sheets or Excel sheets because it's a great tool to organize all the numbers and logistics and all that. You're going to need to be familiar with graphic standards as well as kind of knowing how to put together like infographics or just resources because resources are a really important way for treasurers to learn or know what they're supposed to be doing throughout their terms and just keep track on what their duties are supposed to be. And so yeah, you need a firm grasp on the district, and you really need to be familiar with the role of treasurers because the thing about being district treasurer, you're gonna be working a lot with your treasurers. It's mostly hands-on stuff and just like kind of like teaching like everyone what to do because being treasurer is pretty confusing, but you have a whole committee to help you with that. So yeah, thanks. Yeah, these are duties as district treasurer. The bolded bullet points are what is necessary, like what you need to do to be as a district treasurer, and all the non-bolded points are what is kind of like implied as your duty, and it's not necessary, but it's very important to your role. And so I'm not going to go through all that, but I'm going to discuss some of the stuff. Like treasurer updates is when, wait, I'm going to talk about that later. But a treasurer tribune is basically a newsletter or email updates that you send to the district board and Kiwanis, your RAs and Kiwanis advisors, and what you've been up to and like the numbers and the totals for all the districts. And you usually send that out every month. So, yeah, and then you're gonna be the head of the finance and fundraising committee, and that committee is gonna help you basically with a lot of stuff of your role. So even though all the duties sound like it's a lot, you're definitely gonna get help throughout the term. So yeah, next. So goal setting. Goal setting is a huge part of being treasurer. Everyone on district board helps with the whole goal setting, like what you want to raise for emphases and membership. But you're basically going to be leading your team and in order to achieve these goals. So we have our minor emphasis, PCP. Right now we have a governance project, thirst project, and membership. That's going to be the three main goals that you want to achieve throughout your term. Next. Yeah. So treasurer updates. So like I said earlier, you're gonna be in charge of treasurer updates. So every board meeting, you're gonna be just updating all your board members and co supervisors on what you've been doing, how far we are on our goals, and stuff like that. Just basically what's been going on in the district, and that applies to your role as district treasurer. Yeah, and resources. You're gonna be sending out a lot of resources to your treasurers. So I have right here the dues manual that I sent out. The Treasurer Tribune is part of the resources that you send out to your district board members. The TRF, which is the Treasurer Report Form, you send that out. I send that out every other month, but it's really up to the next district treasurer what they want to do with that, because it's not a required form for international. And then sometimes I send out like infographics, like fundraising ideas or stuff like that, just to kind of keep the treasurers informed and updated. Yeah, so dues and fundraising is basically a huge part of your job. Basically anything money related, you're gonna be in charge of it. So also with dues, you're gonna be in charge of leading the treasurers and showing them how to collect dues for your club. And the secretary is actually the one who inputs all the dues in the membership update center. So you need to be familiar with the whole dues process, like using the membership update center, because as some of us know, the membership update center like sucks. So it's really hard to figure out, definitely if you're using it for the first time, and you're gonna be the one guiding all your officers on how to do that. And fundraising, as you guys know, are like biggest fundraisers, Fall Rally, Awakeathon, Decon. Basically, you're going to be in charge of all the things that is money related to these events. So I was in charge of merchandise and registration, and for Awakeathon, it's the same thing. So yeah, and for that part, you're gonna need a cash box and receipts and envelopes, all the stuff to hold the money, and yeah, that's really important. The next, oh, by friendship, I mean, I mean building relationships with your treasurers is because it's a very hands-on job, and you don't really have a lot of deadlines. You have to set deadlines for yourself, and so like I try to call treasurers every other month, and I have my finance and fundraising committee to help me with that. And just building relationships with your officers is a really important part of like the job of district treasurer, because they're gonna be coming to you a lot for help, and sometimes they're too afraid to ask for help, and that's not good, right? So yeah, that's why you want to build your relationships. Okay, so on to bulletin editor. So some of the responsibilities, obviously being on executive board, is it comes with its own other responsibilities as well. So you must attend all the board meetings and kind of give updates on to as of what you've been working on since the last board meeting. You're also contributing to some of the major decisions that affect the district. A big part of being the bulletin editor is the district newsletter. So the frequency of the newsletter depends on you, but for me, I chose bi-monthly. I know in the past there have been quarterly newsletters. Some newsletters have been out every month, but that's kind of ambitious. I would suggest bi-monthly just to give yourself some time to collect information and put that into the newsletter.
So, sorry, just to cut in really quick, each executive board position is also basically strongly encouraged to apply for a distinguished officer at an international level. So for bulletin editor, it's actually required for that you make 3 newsletters, right?
Yeah, at least
So
that.
yeah, so it's
So another thing that is part of your job is making manuals. So oftentimes other members of district board will come to you to make and design a manual for them. For example, I think I did the decon manual. I did some help on the awards manual. So it's just keeping in close contact with everyone who needs your help, because you kind of take care of all the visual aspects of the district, and manuals are a big part of that. And going off of that, keep up graphic standards. This is like the number one thing. Like this is like highlighted, bolded. So
Key Club graphic standards are the standards that are set by Key Club International, such as the fonts, the colors that you use, placement of the logos, like you can't stretch it or compress it. There's a couple other things. For example, this would fall in line with the Key Club graphic standards because it uses Century Gothic. There are other fonts that Key Club International provides us to use, but for our district, we mainly use Century Gothic. Key Club graphic standards are really important because as district bulletin editor, you're in charge of enforcing those standards onto the rest of the district. So we have a uniform, what's it, branding?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brand as a district. So other districts can take us seriously because we follow those international graphic standards.
Yeah, this is actually a really big deal because whenever you go to international places and meet other key covers, like when Cameron and Tina and I went to international convention, probably when we got in this year. Anyway, when we go to international convention, we meet a lot of people and they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" And then if you say CMHQ, and they're like, "Wow, your videos and graphics are really good." Like I've had a lot of people come up to me and say we have really good branding. So it's really important that the bulletin editor plays a big role in branding.
So yeah, we basically help other districts take us more seriously since we're Kiwins.
Yeah.
instead of, like, a normal Kiwin. So other than that, you're also in charge of the district technology committee, which I'll go over in more detail later. And then also any other media that's needed by other district board members. So any miscellaneous needs, such as for Fall Rally, I did the geo filter. Any banners that are needed, like I'm gonna do one for Awakeathon,
The one for CTC.
CTC.
Yeah.
So I did the programs for CTC and this slides. So this is some of my past work. So the top, as you can see, there's 3 editions of the newsletters. There's the guide to marketing manual that I made, the ARF. I also helped them with Club Rush manual. And then there's also like promotional materials such as the partners in service to let everyone know who our preferred charities are and who we like to work with. So ARFs. So ARFs are a big part of your position because so every month, let me just go over what an ARF is. So an ARF is usually it's the club historians or whoever the editor is will send you an article and a couple of pictures so that you are aware of all the service that's happening within the club. So I set the date as the 10th. You're free to change it, but the 10th has been working out pretty well. You usually, the goal of the ARF is to make sure that you know that the clubs are doing what they're supposed to, as in doing service, and it's a way of helping them document their service. So the ARFs are also included in the newsletter. So I do featured ARFs for every newsletter that I do. So I just go through the ARFs, read each one, and then choose out the best ones and feature it on the newsletter. So something new that I did for my term is I did the ARF manual. So before this term, you could send in ARFs like however you wanted. Like it was kind of a mess, to be honest. But then I thought that it would be easier if everything was uniform. So all the submissions, all the formatting of the ARF. So I think it's like you can send in a Google Doc or a PDF, and then the email header is the same for all of them. And then so yeah, it just makes things way easier. So for the upcoming district bulletin editor, I would highly suggest promoting the ARFs to the new historians so that you don't have to sort through all the ARFs by like all the different emails that they send in and the formats, because it's a lot to deal with. So for district technology committee, it's led by the district bulletin editor and the technology chair. So it basically handles all the tech aspects of the district, such as working on graphics. So if I need a graphic done, sometimes I'll go to the tech committee and ask for help and ideas, and then they give me feedback. And usually it includes videos as well. And we basically find new ways to improve the digital presence of Kiwins as a district. So for example, I started the Hawk as a way of featuring special, like,
Outstanding.
yes, outstanding members that, and then kind of showcasing their story, which helps with inspiring other members throughout the district, and we also cover YouTube and the website as well. So skills needed. I would say the number one skill needed for this position is not graphics, but communication and your ability to collaborate with others, because it's not really brought up, but the district bulletin editor actually works with almost everyone on district board. Like, I work with everyone individually, I work with groups like all the LTGs or all appointed. So it's really, really important that you're able to maintain close communication with everyone that you're working with, because you'll oftentimes be working on several just different projects at once, and it can be hard to keep up with, like, oh, when do I need this to, and how should I make this, and you always need feedback from the person that needs it. So my advice for this would be to keep a list of all the different projects that you're currently working on, along with their deadlines, and when someone asks you to make something for them, make sure that you have dates and all the information that before you start designing, because sometimes some of that information can be wrong, and then you'll have to go back and change it later. So it's really, really important that you keep in close contact. For example, like, I'm working on the decon stuff, so I'm constantly texting Jenna to see, oh, does this color work, or do I need to change some of the words? So I'll go back and change them, and then it'll be ready in time in the deadline. So yeah, another important thing is deadlines. You have a lot of deadlines that you have to do. For me, I set my deadlines on, I believe, the second to last week for my newsletters, and then because I have to have the newsletter ready at that time, then I set a deadline a week before so that people can send me things to put into the newsletter. So you have to give yourself time when you're working with other people for them to send you information as well. Also, being open to criticism. There's a lot of times where your style choice may not work with the whole idea or the feeling of that event. So it's really important, because this position really takes a lot of growth in you, in your skill as a graphic designer, or like your skill presenting, or a lot of different aspects of you. There's a lot of opportunity to grow in this position. So yeah. So another thing, Key Club graphic standards, basically the knowledge of Key Club graphic standards and being comfortable with using them. There's a lot of resources on Key Club International website, such as the branding guide. I used the branding guide a lot when I started out, and now I basically like memorized it. So it's really, really important to use the resources that are available to you, such as you can even use, so going off of the bottom point, resourceful list. So I use a lot of past work from past district bulletin editors as inspiration for my new work, and it really, really helps speed things up, because you have an idea of what the graphic should look like. And then also creativity is an important part, because you want to spice things up. Another thing, graphic design program. So my main program is Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, but I know that some people can't afford that necessarily. So there's a lot of different programs out there that can be used to make different design elements and stuff like that, but I would highly, highly recommend getting Illustrator by any means to do your work on, because it's really, really useful.
Even like I personally, as a governor, I do my newsletters, and Illustrator I don't have that because I can't afford it. So like other resources would be like Canva, Trello. That's Trello is a good one too, and so is Canva. So.
Yeah.
And then if you guys have a Mac, Pages is really good too. I use Pages for like everything, and it's not that bad, I think.
But if you really want to use Illustrator and you don't want to pay for it, like we have a district budget.
Budget.
Yeah, we have a budget.
Yeah.
So if you want to vouch for your membership, you can.
So like each officer has a set budget they can use to help the district for materials.
Yeah.
It all depends on which position you are and how much members you guys bring in that year.
Yep. So if you want to use your budget to get an Adobe membership, you can do that. As Jeanette brought up, there's other good online programs such as Canva. I know a lot of people use that for newsletters. But yeah, Illustrator was how I taught myself to do graphic design, so I would just highly suggest that. And then the last one would be organization. Organization is like super, super important because there's so many different projects that you'll be working on. And then, so in the beginning, I used to name all my files just like random things. And then when I went back, like I couldn't find them. So also when you do something on Illustrator, it links all of the pictures. So like when you delete the pictures, when you open the program back up, the pictures won't be there. So it's really important that you have a space for all the links that you need for your program, and you name the program accordingly. Even there's like I have like 5 different versions for each project that I work on. So organization is really important for that, and also the Google Drive. It's like so many things on there. I have like
Yeah,
I'm
so
not even exaggerating. I have like 20 folders on that. And also for the ARF, I do different folders for each month. So it's a lot.
yeah, so on district board, everyone has their own assigned email, and that email was passed down from like 4 years ago. So it's just a bunch of stuff on that email that you have to organize accordingly.
Which is also good though, because it provides you with a lot of resources
Yeah.
and places to
You
go
get
from.
to see a lot.
Also, I'm sorry to whoever's next because I'm at like 14.9 out of 15, whatever. Like
You like?
yeah. So you're gonna have to decide what stuff you want to delete. And
Yeah, I have 13. I'm sorry,
Like
guys.
everything in her term. doesn't matter.
yeah, just delete all of my past stuff.
Okay. So before we actually go on to questions, I'm gonna touch over international board really quick, just in case anyone's interested. So on international board, there's international president, vice president, and trustee. A lot of people from Cubans don't usually run for international positions. We've only had 2 people on international board. One was like 10 years ago, and then the one recently was Neum Tran. She was from JET Division, La Quinta Cuban.
Also, district bulletin editor.
Yeah.
Couple years ago.
Yeah, so she's very positive. Yeah.
That's when I was in Cuba.
Oh, Manuel was in Cubans too, just an FYI. Fun fact. And anyway, continuing on, international board. Basically, I honestly don't know what they do too much because sometimes I just don't. But international trustee basically communicates with all the districts he or she is assigned to. So our international trustee is assigned to us.
And I don't know the rest, but like off
No,
the top of my head.
us, the Carolinas
Oh, West
district,
Virginia.
and West Virginia. So we keep a group chat. We talk to each other, and then they're also in charge of this thing called trustee international committee, and that's basically where your trustee has a committee with the 3 district governors she or he is assigned to. As trustee, you're also supposed to be on I think 3 international committees. You can either be a head or just a member. It's up to you. It's whichever committee you want to apply to. And then you also have to attend 3 board meetings held in Indianapolis at the Kiwanis headquarters. So that's pretty cool. You're also in charge of you have to attend international convention twice. One to run for international trustee, and then the second to retire as international trustee. Also, as international trustee, you're given a pretty big budget, but you also have to balance that budget because you never know where you're going to be traveling to. Like Cindy, she has to go to California, West Virginia, and the Carolinas. So that's like a lot of moving back and forth.
And so essentially the international trustee role is you're serving as the liaison between that district or your districts and then the international level. So if there's any issues with that district, you're basically helping them throughout that. Now we have time for maybe like a couple of questions. The session will be ending, but we can also talk about this during like the lunch break that we're about to have. So if you guys have any questions, but does anyone have any specific questions right now?
Or if they're private questions,
You can
just
also ask
approach
us in
Yeah.
privately. We talk so much. Like you guys don't have talk back.
Just general advice on like running at
General-
UConn.
Okay,
honestly, running at district convention, there's no way you're going to like.
Prepare yourself
Yeah.
really.
It's an in the moment thing, but also don't let yourself psych yourself out because the night before district convention, a lot of emotions are kind of like hitting you, and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. You want to do this. Just like find someone who will encourage you and support you. It's really important that you have a support system at district convention because there's so much going on and it's really hectic and it's just really scary. But if you have a good campaign manager and a good group of friends, they'll keep you going and it'll be okay.
And also too later in the next workshop block, if you guys have any like specific things as it relates to like decon, like how to handle that stress, there actually is a campaign tips and like the whole overview of the elections process that will be happening, led by Tina and Nina in the next
so come
workshop.
to that workshop, campaign tips and election
Yeah.
process. Yeah, it's in here. So
Do you
just
guys have
come
any
back.
further questions? Like we said, like if you guys want to ask us privately, that's totally okay too.
Also, if you want to tell us that you're running, we won't tell anyone. If it'll be
We
anonymous.
just want to know
Yeah,
because
we just
like
want to know.
it makes us feel better to have. No, don't
If
announce it
anyone
now.
wants to run,
Anyone
let
wants
us
to
know.
Comment below.
Oh, are there any questions?
No.
Can I join the live stream?
Okay, so that concludes our workshop. Thank you guys so much for attending. Thank you.
If you guys have any questions, don't feel free to. Oh, don't feel. Feel free to just come up